Whenever I show up to queer events, right, I'm often the only Latinx person. And when I show up to Latino events, or Latinx events, I am often the only queer person, right?
Oftentimes we don't acknowledge the impact and the contributions that Black people across Latin America have had in shaping our culture, in shaping our music, our food, right? So I think oftentimes people forget that, you know, when we dance salsa and merengue, I'm honoring like the ancestral African traditions, right? That birthed that music, right? So I think oftentimes people forget that it even exists.
For so long, we've seen immigrant youth coming out, courageously telling their stories, and we expect every young person out there to come forward and say, this is who I am. But when you're young, you're still trying to figure out who you are. So I think the biggest misconception that we have is that we expect every single undocumented young person to be that activist.
I think when people think on Latin America, they think on it like something very uniform, but there's a lot of diversity actually, a lot of the indigenous diversity as well. And I would like to clarify that we're still here. We're Maya, we're Aztecs, Incas.
A moment in high school when I was just new to the area and still mainly spoke Spanish and really understood how Latinidad is defined in the United States, and I made the choice to embrace it, right? Same with the moment when I chose to fully embrace Blackness, right? Like, it's part of who I am, it's part of my heritage, right? But because of how anti-Blackness plays itself in our countries of origin and our families, you know, it wasn't something that I was immediately given. It was something that I struggle with and that I'm proud to embrace today.
I always knew that I didn't have citizenship in this country, but I didn't understand the full implications of that lack of status. And I remember seeing those dreamers coming forward so courageously and saying, I'm undocumented. I don't think they were saying I'm afraid at that point. I think some of them were very afraid, to be quite honest. But they were just saying, I'm undocumented, as if it was this identity. And that was something that I had never fully embraced for myself.
So what I do now to connect to my roots in the US is I go to Google or any other place to find some more information about my Mayan culture, and I will usually see that the Mayan people disappear mysteriously and all of that, but I'm just like, no, I'm here, my people is around.
We talk so much about, you know, listening more and learning the other side and finding those elements that join us together as community.
As someone who shares multiple identities that are viewed as marginalized, right? There's a lot of trauma that comes with that. I can easily argue that being undocumented today is trauma in this country. We know that being Black, the Blackness has been trauma in this country since its founding, right? We know that our Latinx community, you know, continues to be the center of attacks. So there's so much trauma that comes from being those things, right? But there's also this beautiful joy and resilience that we bring to the table.
It's beautiful when you can find spaces that are of queer people of color. It's important to sort of like create that space for people to be acknowledged within that community.